Hi guys, today we've got some maintenance work to do in the gardens. We're going to be cutting back some of our annuals because they're kind of looking a little stringy and leggy. I've got some deadheading to do, fertilizing, a little tree trimming, just a whole bunch of stuff, and we're just going to be bopping all over the place. It is beautiful out here though. Woke up this morning and it was 65 degrees, low humidity. We had a ton of rain the other night. Upwards of 3 inches of rain. And usually when we have these like heavy downpours, we get these weather alerts on the weather app that, hey, you know, flash flood warning or whatever. But this storm, we actually got like a actual sound alert on our phones, much like an Amber Alert. And I heard my phone going off and it was a flash flood warning because we were getting 3 inches of rain an hour and it was raining for about 2 or 3 hours. So everything got drenched, flooded, mulch is all over the place. We're kind of leaving that whole bed by the arborvitaes alone because we want to take a little bit of video of it and see where like the water paths were that pushed all the mulch away so we can regrade later in the fall. But it brought in some beautiful weather and that's what we get to work in today. So we're going to start out front and just kind of make our way towards the back. And along the way, I can give you some project updates, starting with our Supertunia Vista Bubblegum experiment, because that is our first project of the day. Here's what they look like right now. We have 9 terracotta containers. There's 1 Supertunia Vista Bubblegum in each container, and you can see they have filled out and bulked up. They look so good, but we do need to do a little bit of maintenance on some of them because as you can see, they were hit with quite a bit of rain and wind, so they've kind of splayed out in the center a little bit. Some of them are starting to look a little leggy towards the bottom. They're kind of getting a little scraggly, so we kind of need to do a little bit of a haircut on these. Nothing too drastic, but you can see like, well, that just broke off, but you can see there's more foliage than there is blooms. So we kind of need to just trim everything back just a little bit and kind of give it a little refresh. And we are going to be fertilizing these today too with the Proven Winners water soluble fertilizer. And you can see that some of them are a little more worse for wear than others, but we'll get all of this taken care of. I've got my pruners. I'm just going to go in and make a few selective cuts, kind of lift the canopy up a little bit. Then we'll get them all fertilized and then I'll show you what they look like after. So on this plant, you can see that there's a nice full canopy on the top and right around the sides over here. But this back side here that we see, look how leggy this is. It's long and it's almost touching the ground, but there's not really many blooms here. And it does look like some of these branches are starting to wilt. It looks like a couple of them may have already snapped from all of the rain and wind we've got. So I just want to come up here, and especially for this one, I'm just going to remove this whole branch because it did snap off right there. But I want to just lift everything up a little bit more. So I'm just going to come in and just start trimming back a lot of this foliar canopy here because there's really not much in the way of blooms. So I just want to kind of clean it up a little bit. And this is going to stimulate a lot more new growth. But like, see this branch, for example, if I can separate it, the wind has taken it. It's really long and lanky and there's only blooms right on the ends. And if I cut it back a little bit more, we can get a little bit more bulk right here. This is the side that we see the most. And it can just fill in a little more and just push out some new buds and blooms. And so we're just going to come in here and just trim everything back a little bit. Now this I'm going to leave alone because it's nice and full, but I am going to do the same thing on the back side. This is the side that faces the house that butts up against the sky pencil hollies. And I'm just going to do the same thing, just kind of cut some of this foliar growth off, these leggy little branches over here. Just kind of stimulate a little bit more growth and some more buds and blooms. And when it's all said and done, here's everything that I took off of that one plant. It looks like a lot, but it's really just a lot of foliage. And this is what it looks like after. Before, after. And you can see we kind of just pulled the canopy up a little bit, tightened the sides, And along the back side here, we did the same thing, kind of just trimmed it off of the sky pencil holly a bit. And we're going to do the same to all of these. You can see it's flopping over. We just need to get some of this weight off of them, kind of give them a little rejuvenation. And just that little bit of trimming, mainly underneath, just kind of perked up that whole canopy a bit. Once I'm done cutting back the supertunias, I'm just gonna move right into deadheading our butterfly bushes. So let me show you that real quick, and then we'll just get after all of it. So in our front flower bed, we have 3 Pugster Pinker butterfly bushes, and don't they look beautiful right in front of the limelight hydrangeas? But we are eventually going to be transplanting these because they are kind of in the way of a future potential stepping stone pathway here. But for now, they look beautiful. They come out with these beautiful pink blooms, and they're huge. But this is what they look like when they die back, and you don't really have to deadhead them because they're not super visual. But here's the thing, the Pugster series of butterfly bushes is not a sterile variety. They do produce seed, and they can tend to spread in the right conditions. Now, we've had quite a bit of rain in the last few days, in the last few weeks, so what I'm noticing here is we're starting to get some new butterfly bushes popping up. So I kind of want to just avoid this whole situation. So we're just going to come in here and just cut off all the spent blooms and just toss them, because these are actually going to seed. They're falling, they're dropping, and they're reproducing. But these are really easy to pull out anyways. They just come right out. Those are our first 2 projects, so let's get them done, and then I'll come back around and show you what it all looks like. On the ones where the top has splayed out and you can see the center, I am going to come in and trim back some of these center branches a little bit more to encourage a little bit more growth up top and kind of fill that canopy in a little bit more. Because you can see some of these are just breaking off. Like so. Okay, so this one was actually a lot worse than I anticipated. There were a lot more broken branches in the center. So I just did a hard cut back on this, and it does look a little sad right now, but it will perk up again. All right, guys, I just wanted to stop and show you real quick. On some of these, I have taken them back really severely as opposed to something like this. Just because you can see right at the top here, it is completely splayed. And when I actually got into it, there were a lot more broken branches in the center. So I actually just decided, you know what? Here's another one. I just decided I'm just gonna do a severe prune back on this, and we fertilize and water, and they will perk up and rebloom. These don't need it quite as much, but I did come in here and clean up quite a bit more, especially in the center, because they are starting to splay, and more so underneath. So they may look a little different for a couple weeks, but with all of the heat, they will bulk back up again. And I know they kind of look so pretty now, but when you actually get into it all, it's really scraggly underneath, and it's not going to be able to support itself when it gets rained on. And that's kind of sort of what's happening here. They were just so big and leggy and lanky that with all of the rain and wind, they snapped and they just kind of got stuck into each other. Here's another example of one. See how the center is just completely flattened? And it looks beautiful right around here, but you actually get in here and it's just a matted mess. See? I'm just trying to pull this apart just to see what's going on. And this is one stem, and there's only 2 blooms on here. And it's already snapped off. So there's a couple blooms we're going to be sacrificing, that's okay. But overall, they will flush back again, and they'll just look so full and beautiful. All right guys, we got them all cut back. I forgot to turn my camera back on when I fertilized them, but they have been fertilized and watered in. You can see all the water coming down the bottom. So some of these I cut back a little bit, more so the underneath parts. Others I had to go a little bit more extreme because there was just too much damage on the top. So you can see a difference between the 2 plants. But in a few weeks, they will bush back out again and they'll be covered in blooms. They may look a tiny bit smaller, but trust me, they will benefit from this so much better in the long run. Some of these I cut back less. Some of these look beautiful. And others still look a little sad. But this is what happens though when they get too long and lanky, and with the amount of rain that we've gotten, it flattens them. And these are brittle, so you got to be careful with them too, because one wrong move and they can snap. So that's what has been happening a lot to these, is the weight of all of the rain has just snapped a lot of the branches internally, and we're left with this. A little lopsided, but I just didn't want to take too many of them down all the way. But all of these will rebound. They've been fertilized. They've got their nutrients. They do get the Proven Winners water-soluble fertilizer every week. So yeah, a little sad right now, but again, trust me when I tell you, this is for their benefit in the long run. Now on to the butterfly bushes. And all I'm going to do is just come in here and just snip off all of these dead blooms, spent blooms. That's it. So here they are, all nice and trimmed back. Don't they look a lot more refreshed, revitalized? And this will spur new growth again, because with all of those spent blooms sitting there, the plant was focusing more on trying to go to seed as opposed to pushing new blooms. So now that we've gotten rid of all of that, it's going to kickstart the plant back up again to send out some more blooms. So Yay, but these do just continuously bloom. But when you get that many spent blooms and it starts going to seed, I think it powers down as far as blooming, at least in my experience, but this will definitely jumpstart it for more blooms. And they're so pretty, you guys. And they smell so good. Now that our first two projects are done, we can move on to the next, and that is the crepe myrtle in front of our house, right by the front porch. I want to clean out the center of the tree. It's got way too much new growth in there, a lot of crisscrossing branches, and it's just looking very congested. Here's the crepe myrtle that we're going to be working on right in front of our house, right in front of the front porch. It's already blooming out these scarlet red blooms. Can you guys see that? And it's a really pretty tree, even though I do say it is messy because it does tend to drop a lot of the blooms onto the grass and then you end up with kind of like a carpet. But one thing I love about crepe myrtles is that there is their trunk system. They're multi-trunks. There's so many trunks on one tree. I think if we count here on this one, we'll start here. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. 12 trunks on one tree. But that's typical for crepe myrtles, at least the ones that I have. The one in the back in the corner by the butterfly garden, that one has 13. The one in the center of our backyard, the one that blooms, that lavender purple, that I think has 3 or 4 trunks, but about 4 or 5 feet up, it kind of branches out into more, but I don't consider that a trunk. So that one has about 4 or 5, but they are beautiful. And then in the fall, the bark starts to curl and peel off and fall. It's so pretty. But the one thing about crepe myrtles is you want to keep the center where all of the trunks are. You want to keep it free, and they do like to sucker a lot. So we need to get in here and kind of clean this out. Obviously, you can see I let this go because ideal time is late winter, early spring before they've broken dormancy. But, you know, such is life. I didn't get around to it, but I'm not going to do a really hard prune on it because in the winter I do want to come in and clean out a lot of the canopy. There's a lot of crisscrossing branches. Right now I'm just going to focus on like 4 feet and down. That's all I want to do is just kind of clean out this whole little lower trunk system, just kind of air it out and let it breathe. I've got my hand pruners for the smaller branches, but the bigger ones that are like a 1/2 inch or more, I brought out the battery powered pruners because these are strong. So let me show you what I'm going to do real quick, and then I'm just going to take after it. So look at this branch. You see how it's coming off of one of the main trunks, but it literally was bent down and growing in the center. So if we unearth it, it's just kind of dangling right there. We don't want that. We want to clear all of this out so we can see light through all of these trunks. So I'm going to take my hand pruners for this, or my battery operated ones. We're just going to get rid of it. Just like that. And we'll do another one. There. And it's already starting to look a lot lighter. Here's another one. Got another one over here. And that's it. And we'll just work our way all the way around, just kind of cleaning a lot of these suckers and stuff off. Like, look at this. Let's get in here. There. That's all we're pretty much doing, is just kind of lightening the load. Here, one last one, and then we'll jump right into it. Here. Let me get around over here. And just those few branches have already started to open this lower area up. This is actually really satisfying to do. All right, guys, here we go. Well, that looks so much better. See, now you can see light going all the way through the trunks, airflow, and it just looks a lot cleaner and not so ratty looking. All right, guys, we are done with our projects in the front yard. Now let's head to the back. I want to give you a little progress update on the vegetable garden before we go in and fertilize our tomatoes. So in our first bed, we've got the cucumbers. They're growing nicely. We've got a couple of peppers, jalafuegos. Look at the size of some of these peppers. And I've got radish greens growing all throughout to mask the scent of the cucumbers and the melons and the zucchinis. In the second bed, this is our cantaloupe. And isn't it looking beautiful? Oh, it's so pretty. Our basil is looking and smelling fantastic. We've got some candy onions and green onions in this bed. Right over here, we have two types of zucchini. One is yellow, one is green. I can't remember which is which. And then I underplanted it with a whole bunch of radish greens. But these are looking really good, you guys. Look at that. Healthy leaves. I've been checking them too. There's nothing going on underneath so far. Right behind, we've got all of our tomatoes on our trellis, and they have put on quite a bit of size. In this next bed, we've got pickling cucumbers in the center, and then I planted spinach and lettuce right along the sides here, and I threw in a bunch of a wildflower mix, a pack of seeds. I just threw it all in there, and they're all coming up. Sorry guys, we've got landscapers. And then right over here, I've got 2 tomatoes, a bunch of jade bush beans that are coming up. This one came up really quick. And then these all over here took quite a bit longer. But I've got 5 bean plants here, 2 tomatoes, a couple of basil, and some garlic chive. Along the fence, our beans, zinnias, and tomatoes are looking amazing. They have grown so much, and I'm already starting to see fruit set. And the beans are just shooting up. They're kind of working their way through the chain link fence and up the stake, which is exactly what I wanted them to do. But yeah, they're looking really good. Really good. I see a bud on one of our zinnias, and we've got some random cosmos that kind of popped up. So, hey, why not? The more the merrier. But look at the fruit. Look, we've got tomatoes. Let's make our way back to the other 2 raised beds. First, let's stop and take a look at our fig tree. Doesn't it look good? Look at all of the leaves that it's pushed out. And it has suckered a little bit, so I have been snapping them off. But overall, it's looking really good. We've got our mint over here, which is looking pretty gangly and leggy. It's just gotten so much rain and not a lot of sun, so I'm just gonna shear them all back. I'm still gonna keep all of the leaves because I dry them and make tea with them, but they just need like a rejuvenation prune. Our blackberry bush is, ooh, spotted lanternfly. All right, I have to kill that. Hang on a second. Sorry guys, I needed 2 hands to kill it, but I did get rid of it. Our blackberry bush is looking really good. You can see it's put on a little bit of new growth. So really happy with that. And then over here we have our first of 2 3x6 raised beds. We've got carrots in the center, an Armageddon pepper, and we have our Jalafuego jalapeno peppers here, which are just going to town. Let me show this. Let me show you guys how many peppers are on these plants. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13. They're just loaded up with peppers, and these are huge. I see a couple that are ready. Let me see if I can get in here and harvest them. These look ready. Look at that. Oh, I'm so excited. All right, let me get in the shade because I want to show you guys this. So here's a good way to tell if your jalapenos are ready. You see all of this little like cracking or these tan lines that are slowly starting to form throughout. That's called corking, and that's a good sign or a good indicator that your pepper is ready to harvest. Oh, I'm so excited. And then we have our tomato bed over here. Everything is looking pretty good. This one tomato, this is a San Marzano. This looks like it's struggling a bit, but it is setting fruit, so I'm just gonna kind of leave it be and watch it. But all of these are looking really healthy. They're starting to set fruit. Look at all these tomatoes. I got another one hiding back there. There's another one over here. And this is the super sauce. This is the new tomato that we're experimenting with or trialing. This is the one that's supposed to get like 5.5 inches tall and wide, 2.5, 3 pounds. And if this is any indication of what it's capable of doing, I'm already impressed. Look at that. Look at these tomatoes. Look how big they already are. So I've got 5 of them on this plant, and so far I'm really happy with them. We do have more super sauce tomatoes here and a couple along the fence line, and I have seen fruit set on them as well. But this is just really exciting. Right over here are another San Marzano. Got a little bit of fruit. One of them is trying to ripen. And then our Sunrise Bumblebee tomatoes, cherry tomatoes. Look at these. Look at all of the fruit. So exciting. So I brought out our mesh bags. I'm gonna bag a few of these tomatoes, and I've done it before too. I did it last year and it worked beautifully. So they're just little green mesh bags. These are 6 inches by 8 inches. I've also got, I think, 8 by 10 inch bags. Either way, it's just a mesh bag with a drawstring, and I've already got one bagged. I bagged it earlier. Look at that. This I bagged like a week or so ago. But they work beautifully for tomatoes. They keep the birds away, all the pests and bugs. They're just great. Love them. I'm going to use the larger bags on the tomatoes because these fruits are supposed to get really big. So all I do is just take my tomato, insert it in the bag, and just pull the drawstrings, and it closes it right there. And our fruit is protected inside the bag. So simple. So I'm gonna go around and bag all of our tomatoes first, then come back and fertilize. I'm gonna be using Tomato Tone today. Tomato Tone is specifically formulated for tomato plants. It's lower in nitrogen but higher in phosphorus and potassium, which helps with water intake and fruit set. It also has higher levels of calcium, which can help with blossom end rot. If you've ever seen blossom end rot, the bottom of your tomatoes have a little black splotchy circle on there. That's from a lack of calcium, most likely. It can also be from inconsistent watering if your plants are getting deluged with water or if they're drying out too much between waterings. But usually it can be a calcium deficiency. So the tomato tone is higher in calcium as opposed to garden tone. Now, if you don't have tomato tone, you can use garden tone. It's totally fine. It's a little lower in nitrogen too, which is fine. It does have potassium, phosphorus, and calcium in there as well. Anything that will feed your tomato plants is better than nothing. And the back of the bag has the breakdown of all the nutrients and directions on how to apply it depending on if it's new plants, established plants, potted plants, and how much and how often. I pretty much eyeball it. I'll just grab a handful, sprinkle it around each plant, scratch it in, get it nice and watered in, and we're good to go. All right, guys, let's get this done. All of our tomatoes are bagged, fertilized, and watered in. Let's take a look real quick. So as you can see, anywhere I saw tomatoes, I bagged them so they are protected from the birds. And I have noticed a lot more bird activity with everything that we've planted throughout the gardens. Then I came in and fertilized all of our tomatoes. This back section over here, I did put a fresh layer of mulch over here because it was running a little thin. And then I watered everything in. I gave everything a nice good soaking. We've got a couple of tomatoes in the raised beds over here. And all of these tomatoes over here have been bagged, fertilized, and watered in. And then we finished up by chopping back all of our mint. I cut it all the way down, left it about 4 or 5 inches on each plant. I've got all of our cuttings over there, mountain mint, my mom's mint. And then I came in with tomato tone, gave them a little bit of fertilizer and watered it all in. And one last time, these are the mesh bags that I used. These are the 6x8 size, and these are the 8x10s. I got them off Amazon. I'll put a link in the description box if you want to check them out. They're fairly inexpensive and they do such a great job. And you guys, we are done for the day, and what a great day it was. The weather cooperated. It's only like 80 degrees, low humidity. There's a little breeze coming in now and it feels so good. We got our supertunias cut back and fertilized, and they desperately needed that haircut, and they will bush out again and flower. They just need a reset, and that happens with them. Sometimes last year when I had them in the big blue pots, I had to do the same thing because they just get so brittle and heavy. And again, with all the rain, it just battered them down. But we took care of that. They will be fine. I'll keep you guys updated on their progress. We got all of our tomatoes fertilized and bagged, watered in. The butterfly bushes were deadheaded, and we harvested our mint. So all in all, I would say that is a very productive day. And you guys, that is it for our video. Thank you so much for watching. I hope you enjoyed it. We'll see you in the next one. Bye.